There are so many options to flick through in the menus of Red Dead Online. Some are completely useless and mean nothing, but some are really important and could change the way you play Red Dead Online for the better. In this video, we'll go through all the settings in Red Dead Online, and I'll show you the settings you should actually consider changing and the ones which are extremely necessary and helpful. But before we do get into all of that, be sure to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss any content just like this. So, getting back to the video. So first, let's quickly go through the entire menu when you hit options in Red Dead Online. First, you have the map, which will just take you to the map. Here you'll be able to see anything you want to see within the Red Dead Online map. I may do a video going through anything you may need to know about this map. Let me know in the comments if that's something you would be interested in. And next up, we have the benefits section, which will give you the latest news, which at the moment isn't much, and there will be the rewards. And once again, there isn't really much in here because there's not much going on in the game at the moment, but say there was a new update, you'd be able to see all about it here. And you would also have the tab for what is now the Halloween pass at the moment, since there hasn't been anything since that, but you have the latest outlaw pass in here, and you'll be able to see your rank and buy the latest rank of the outlaw pass. That's all available in the benefits section. And you can also go to the store if you want to buy some gold bars, and yeah, you'll just be able to see the latest news, offers and rewards. So next up, we have the help section. This isn't something that's really worth looking at, to be honest. I'd say just go on YouTube, watch a few Luxon videos or something like that. But if you want to have a look at this section, it is here to look at. You've got the getting started here, which is just some very basic information. Chances are you'll probably know all of this already, but if you're interested in this and want to read through it, then by all means, I'm not going to stop you. But I don't really suggest taking the time to read through all this. It is just some very basic information about getting started, combat, roles, online features, player and horse, and activities. If that's something you really want to read through, then by all means go for it. And next up, we have the progress section. Now here you'll be able to once again see the club rewards of the latest outlaw pass. You'll then be able to see your roles. Here you'll be able to see the role unlocks. Obviously this is a newer account, so everything is quite a low level here, but you can see the level of each role, and you'll be able to get your rank unlocks in each of these roles. So here we have the bounty hunter role, and yeah, you can go through and upgrade and buy all of the role unlocks that you want to buy. And you've got the same here for the naturalist, moonshiner, trader and collector. So that's all available in the progress tab, along with the awards, the rank unlocks, which is not very much, to be honest. I wouldn't really suggest looking through this all that often, but you can just see what you unlock at each level. And it is worth noting that every 5 levels you will get a treasure map, which is something good to have. And yeah, this will just show the rank unlocks, and this does stop at rank 100, and by that point you'll have unlocked everything in the game and you won't need to be waiting to a certain level to unlock anything. And then we also have the story missions. This is the Land of Opportunity missions that you get right at the beginning of the game, and the Life of Shine missions, which you get as part of the Moonshiner role. So there are quite a few missions here. You can go through, you can replay them, get them to all their gold medals if that's something you'd want to do. And yeah, you can replay the Moonshine missions as well in a harder difficulty if you'd like to do that as well. So that's a pretty useful tab there, and you'll be able to see here the percentage that you have and how close you are to finishing them. So next up, we have the abilities, and here you'll be able to see all the ability cards. I haven't actually done a video yet on my channel going through the ability cards, and if that's something you'd be interested in, then by all means let me know. But here you'll be able to buy the different ability cards and upgrade them. And yeah, this is where you'll be able to select your loadout. Here's what I'm using at the moment, and for me this is fine. I've never been that big in ability cards actually, but if you would like to see a video on that, then just let me know down in the comments and I'd definitely get that done. But yeah, I use Paint It Black, Sharpshooter, Come Back Stronger and Fool Me Once. This works fine for me. Paint It Black is definitely a must-have in my opinion, and the rest of these I've just sort of been upgrading them, going through. But yeah, I'm happy with this loadout. And next up, we have the player section. Now here you'll be able to see your character and your horse. So here we have my character stats. Here you can see if your character is overweight, which mine is, if the temperature is fair, and the rank of your character. And then you'll be able to also be able to see your rank progress and the general XP and hostility and honor and all of that. You probably won't need to check this tab very often, but it is here and it is quite useful to be able to see the general stats here. And then you'll also be able to see similar stuff for your horse. You've got the overview, see the bonding, which is quite a useful thing to look at because obviously your horse improves over time, and the max bonding level is level 4. And yeah, so you'll be able to have a look here. This one I have looked at a bit before. You will see the mood of your horse, so some of this is quite useful. As you get later on in the game, you'll probably find that you check all of this less and less, but it is here, especially at the beginning of the game. Being able to check the bonding level of your horse is quite useful. And next up we have the story tab. Now this is just going to take you to story modes. So there's not really much to see here. You'll just be able to load a game, resume the story, or just exit the game in general. And here we have the online tab. Now if you wanted to find a new session, this is the way to do that. You just go and hit free roam. You'll be able to also go to your camp, lead a posse. I'm not really sure why you want to do that if you're already in a session, but you'll be able to also be able to start a featured series. This is usually the way I do that. I just go into the online section and I'll start a featured series or something like that. And then you can also choose a location to spawn. But unless you want to find a new session, you probably won't be checking this tab once you're actually in the game. So then we have the social club tab. Now this is just going to take you to the social club, and as you can see here, my achievements. And yeah, I don't really check this that often, but it'll basically just show your achievements. I don't think this is as used on PlayStation and Xbox, but on PC this is probably the best way to see your achievements. But yeah, I don't really check this. You can also see your photos on your camera and everything like that. So if we go back, we've got the store, and this is where you'll be able to buy the gold bars and anything like that. Or if you have the standalone version of Red Dead Online, you could purchase the story mode from here. And now we have the settings tab, and we're going to go quite in depth here over each section, and we'll look into all of that. So let's get into it. It's worth noting that I'm going to be on PC. Everything on console will be the same, but there will just be a few more options on PC because of being able to change the graphics and customize the controls with a keyboard and mouse. So we will start off with the controls tab. Here we'll be able to select between keyboard and mouse and controller. Obviously on a console it will just take you straight to controller since you're not able to use a keyboard and mouse. But if we go to the keyboard and mouse section first, these are the settings that I use. You've got your key mapping to be able to customize the keyboard and mouse maps on your keyboard. I don't really mess around with this. I'm pretty happy with how the default controls are on a keyboard and mouse, and I don't actually tend to use a keyboard and mouse that often in Red Dead. I prefer using controller. I just think having the auto aim is much nicer. But you'll be able to see here I've got my mouse mode on raw input. Obviously a lot of this is down to personal preference. In this, it depends on what you find works best for you and how you like to hold your mouse and keyboard or something like that, and being able to just change the sensitivity here. Some of it depends obviously on the actual settings you have on your keyboard and mouse, such as your DPI, but being able to change all this here is useful. And yeah, I've just got it on hold to aim. I haven't really ever seen someone use toggle to aim. I think hold to aim is probably just a lot easier and it feels a lot more real, if that makes sense. And yeah, I just have this all on default. I'm more than happy with how the keyboard layout is in Red Dead, but like I said, I do tend to use a controller. So if I was you, I'd just keep everything here as the default. Unless you find something that annoys you, then by all means change that. So if we go over to the controller section, here I have invert look off, vibration I have on, and this is because I think it's very useful if you're doing a treasure map or if you're collecting, then being able to have the vibration in your controller to tell when you're nearby is very useful. Some of these settings aren't actually that useful and you won't really need to change, such as use cycle camera control for photo mode. I wouldn't really mess around too much with any of this. A lot of this is just some very standard settings here. Now the look sensitivity and aim sensitivity I haven't turned up on PC because with the higher frames I don't really feel the need to, but when I'm on console for the 30 FPS it feels a little bit nicer if I turn up the look sensitivity, just because it feels a lot more smoother and quicker. I find with 30 FPS it can sometimes feel a bit slow, so turning the look sensitivity up I think sometimes helps with that. So if you're on console I would definitely suggest turning this up a bit. And for first person, I don't really use first person. I'm not too sure many people that do. Maybe if you're into roleplay you might use this, so there's a few settings here you might want to change with the look sensitivity. If you're on console you might want to up that a bit. And then here the hold to run I have on. I think that's just a bit easier. The hold to reel fishing is a very important setting and it's something we definitely need to look at. If you have this on, all you'll have to do is hold down square or X on your controller to reel in the fishing rod when you're fishing. But if you have this off, you'll have to continuously spin the right stick which I really don't suggest doing since it is just a lot more fiddly and a lot more effort. It will just be so much easier if you have this on, and it will just make the whole fishing experience a lot nicer in Red Dead Online. So everything else here I generally just have on the default, apart from, as we looked at, the sensitivity and the hold to reel fishing. So go ahead, change what you like here, and if you want to copy mine, then by all means do so. I'm quite happy with how all this is. The invert look is something you might want to change. A lot of that is personal preference. So next we're going to be looking at the graphics section. Now if you are on console, then you can skip to this timestamp of the video since this tab isn't available on console. But if you are on PC, you may want to have a look at this. So in the graphics section, you're going to be able to change your resolution and change your general graphics. These are the settings I play on, and on screen now you can see my PC specs and the monitor that I use. This may help you decide what graphic settings you want to use. It does take quite a little bit of tweaking to find the perfect settings, unless obviously your PC is very strong, but for me I did have to go through this a few times just to find the perfect settings. But here you can see what I use. I'm on 1440p since I'm on a 1440p monitor, and 165 since that's the refresh rate of my monitor. I have it in window borderless since I just tend to find it a bit nicer than using full screen. Some people use full screen, but I just prefer window borderless for Red Dead. VSync I have on since I tend to experience a bit of screen tearing if I have this off. Triple buffering I have on, and then these two you don't really need to focus on. And here we have the graphics. Now I really do suggest trying to put this texture quality to ultra since it will just look so much nicer. But if you can't, obviously turn that down. But I would suggest trying to put this to ultra, and the frames you really want to be aiming at is 30 at a bare minimum, but anything above that is good as well. 60 is obviously the sweet spot, but 30 is more than playable. So here we have the settings that I use. I would say this is medium settings. A few things are on higher settings, and I do have NVIDIA DLSS on performance since I don't really mind the compromise in image quality that you have to take. And down here we have the advanced settings. I wouldn't really fiddle with these ones too much. You might want to change a few things, but I'm pretty sure I've generally kept this locked. And I do have the graphics API on DirectX 12. I've experienced a bit of stuttering when I've switched this around, so I would just try all of them and see what works for you. Some people prefer Vulkan, but I just do use DirectX 12 and it has been the best for me. So yeah, these are the settings that I use, and if you want to copy these, if you have similar PC specs, and then go for it. But obviously if you've got a stronger PC or a weaker PC, then you might want to change some of these a bit. But yeah, these are the settings I use, and try what will work for you. A lot of this is just a lot of tweaking, and it really depends what kind of frames you want to be aiming for. Like I said, 30 is the minimum, but 60 really is what you want to get. With these settings, I tend to get around 80 frames, which for me is more than enough, and I'm more than happy with these graphic settings. So next up we have the camera settings. Now here there are a few things that you might want to look at. Enable dynamic kill cams I would just keep as on, and the camera follow level, this really depends how much you like this. I have this on high, which I'm pretty sure is the default, and I would suggest putting this on as well. But if you don't like how much that the camera follows you around, then you might want to just turn this down a bit. And here we have the third person field of view. Now you can change this around, but I just have this on lowest. I haven't noticed too much of a difference from when I've changed this, so I've just kept it as it was. And here we have the first person settings, which I don't really mess with. These are all on the default just because I'm not really into playing in first person. If you do like first person, then by all means you might want to tweak these a bit, but these are the default settings and these are what I use for first person. So next up we have the display section, which is also on console as well as PC. So if we go in here, there are a few things you might want to change. Colorblind mode I have off. If this is something that would benefit you, then by all means turn this on and find the one that works for you. Kill effects I have on. I just think this looks nice, and I think it's definitely something that you might want to have on. I think it will just overall improve the experience. The HUD safe zone I have on 95, which I believe is the default. I think on some consoles it sets this to 98, but I find 95 just to look that bit cleaner. And here we have the hub preset, which I have on custom, and these are the settings that I have on. And subtitles I have on. I just think that they're quite useful to have and just be able to be there. They don't bother me that much, so having them there is quite nice. The subtitle speaker name though I do have off since I don't really think it's that needed. If you do prefer this, then by all means turn it on. If you like to see who is speaking, then this is definitely something to turn on. The rest of these I mainly just have on dynamic, since you don't really have to worry about them too much. But here is something you might want to look at. This is the weapon reticle. Now the reticle dot size I have on the defaults, but I have played with it on small before. You have two options of small and default. I did find that for a bit I found that it improved my aim when I had it on small, which you might find as well, so by all means change this to small for a bit and see how if you like it or not. But I have now changed this back to default since I just started playing one day and I thought that's way too small, so I just turned it back. But you might like this for a bit, so by all means try it. I will now put on screen the differences between the two of them. So yeah, I put this back to default, but for a while I was using this on small, and I have seen a few people use this on small as well, since it does seem to improve aim a little bit. So if that's something you like, then of course put that onto small. The score timers and the ticker and all of these I just have on, apart from the reticle messages I have off. So invites I have on as well, and then all of these here I've just got them on the default really. A lot of these are just on the regular, normal and on. So you can copy these settings or you can tweak them to how you would like them. Like I said, a lot of this is personal preference, but there are a few that you definitely want to change. And next up we have the audio tab. Here I have kept a lot of this on default. Now the sound volume and score volume, I would just keep this on the maximum because you'd be able to change the volume in another way as well. This shouldn't really be the main way you change your volume. That wouldn't be very ideal. But the dialogue balance I do just have on the default, since I find the balance between the SFX and the music completely fine. If you're not a fan of the music, then by all means change this, but I don't know who doesn't like the Red Dead music. And here we have the output. Now this depends on what you use. If you're on PC, it's likely that you're using headphones, so then change this to headphones. But if you're on a console, you might be using stereo, so then you want to change that to that. Headphones obviously is just when you're using over-ear headphones, and stereo would just be anything else like speakers or just using the speakers in your monitor. But obviously anything other than headphones, just change it to stereo. So here we have the latency. I would just keep this at the lowest. I don't really see why you might want to change this up. There might be a reason that you would need to turn this up, but I would just keep this as the default, which is the lowest. Now here we have voice chat on PC, I believe, and this is on console as well, but the output device will be different. I don't believe all of these settings will be seen on console, but if you're on PC, just change it to what you have your mic set to, or the mic you want to use for voice chat. Obviously you could change and voice chat and turn it off if that's something you'd want to do, but I have it on. I have push to talk on, and I have the keyboard button for that N. Since push to talk, you will have to use your keyboard, you can't use a controller to use push to talk. And this is the microphone I have. Obviously I have an XLR mic, so these two are the same. And you might want to change this. Your speaker might be different to your microphone, so you will want to just go around these and find the right one. And the volume, I just have all of this on the default really. I haven't found any issues. Obviously if you find something too loud or too quiet, then turn it up definitely. But yeah, I just have the default settings here really, apart from the output, which you might want to change depending on what you're using. And lastly we have the general setting. And in here I have everything really on the default. Now a lot of this does depend on where you live. So you might be living in an area where Fahrenheit is the temperature used, so you'll want to change it to that. But I live in the UK, so I use Celsius, and we also... Anyways, before I was rudely interrupted, we also have the weight here, which I have on pounds. Now you might want to put this to kilograms. It really depends on what you prefer here and where you're from. And the clock I have on 24-hour. You might prefer to read a 12-hour clock, so then by all means change it to that. But I do prefer a 24-hour clock, so that's what I have it on. And autosave, I would have this on. If you're not wanting to save your progress, then obviously turn this off, but it's likely that it'll be saved anyway, so I would just have this on. There's not really a reason to turn this off. And here we have allow Red Dead Online invites in story mode. So if you don't want to be disturbed while you're playing the story, which is a masterpiece, then obviously turn this off. But I just have this on since they're not that common, so I find it fine. Obviously you won't be getting free roam invites or anything like that. It will just be an invite to a posse or something like that. But if you don't want that on, then by all means turn it off. But everything here is the default. I haven't really changed it, but I'm happy with all of it, so I haven't really needed to. But if there's something here you want to change, then by all means do so. So that does just about wrap up things here. Hopefully you now know the perfect settings for you in Red Dead Online, which will make your Red Dead Online experience just that bit better. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss any content just like this. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.